Imagine for a second discovering that your entire family tree, along with literally millions of others, hinges on an obscure 2,000-year-old legend from thousands of miles away. Crazy, right? Well, today in this explainer, we're diving into a bizarrely massive modern connection that does exactly that. We're unpacking a cross-cultural saga binding ancient India and ancient Korea, mixing genealogy, myth, and 21st century diplomacy into one absolutely incredible story. So here's our game plan for this investigation. We'll start with number 1, the modern mystery, then move to 2, the ancient legend. For 3, we'll weigh myth versus history. 4 covers the diplomatic revival. And finally, 5, we'll wrap up with why this whole story actually matters. Let's get right into it. Section 1, the modern mystery, the Korean descendants. We're starting right in the present day, because this is where the ancient tale has its most mind-blowing tangible impact. Today, several million people in South Korea trace their exact lineage back to an ancient Indian city. We're not talking about some vague cultural affinity here. This is specific, recorded genealogy encompassing roughly 6% of the entire South Korean population. That includes highly prominent figures like the late former president Kim Dae-jung. All of these individuals claim direct descent from one extraordinary union that bridged two incredibly distant worlds. Now, this massive demographic reality instantly begs an irresistible question, doesn't it? How exactly did a woman from ancient India become the founding mother of a Korean royal line? It's a geographic leap that seems almost impossible given the limitations of the ancient world, yet it sits right at the very foundation of Korean genealogical history. What's truly fascinating is how two incredibly prominent South Korean families, the Gimhae Kim clan and the Ho clan, firmly base their entire identity on this cross-continental union. They are the living legacy of this story. Through centuries of meticulous record-keeping, these families have preserved the memory of an ancestor who came from a land far beyond the Korean peninsula, making sure her journey was never forgotten by the generations that came after. The connection is so deeply felt that today, members of these clans treat the Indian city of Ayodhya as a literal ancestral pilgrimage site. They even refer to it using these deeply emotional terms, calling it their maternal home or grandmother's homeland. It's an incredible display of historical memory enduring over millennia to describe a place that is, thousands of kilometers away from South Korea. Moving on to Section 2, the ancient legend, a voyage in 48 AD. To see how this modern reality builds, we have to travel back nearly 2,000 years to the origins of the Kyumgwan Gaya kingdom. The timeline here is just staggering. We've got a maritime journey in 48 AD that lay dormant for centuries, got immortalized in a 13th century medieval text, and was finally revived in 2001 for modern diplomacy. It is exceptionally rare to see a single narrative thread stretch across such vastly different eras while maintaining and even growing its cultural potency. To truly understand the story, we have to look at the primary source document, the Samguk Yusat. Compiled by the Buddhist monk Ileon in the 13th century, this chronicle is a total treasure trove of Korean heritage. And it's crucial because it references an even older, now lost record called the Garikgukgi, which detailed the legendary founding of the Gaya Confederacy in southern Korea and the arrival of its founding queen. The text outlines a literal divine matchmaking process that reads straight like an epic. According to the chronicle, King Kim Suro, the founder of the Korean kingdom, received a heavenly vision that his bride would arrive from afar. At the exact same time, a distant king and queen received a heavenly command to send their teenage daughter, Princess Suriratna, across the sea. Following these visions, she sailed from a kingdom called Ayuta, arrived in Korea, married King Suro, and took the Korean name Queen Hyo Hong-ok. Now, the crucial point lies in the highly specific details that anchor this legend. The text doesn't just give us vague mythology. It provides actual names, records a specific number of offspring, 10 sons who would carry on these diverse lineages, and notes precise, albeit definitely legendary, details like her extraordinary reported lifespan of 157 years. It's exactly these specific markers that have allowed the genealogy to persist so strongly in the cultural consciousness. Section 3, Myth or History, Weighing the Evidence. Like any good historical detective story, we have to pause and ask a really grounded question. Did this epic trans-Asian journey actually happen the way it was written down? As an impartial observer, I have to point out the fascinating tension between these two perspectives. On the Korean side, the tradition is deeply rooted with centuries-old texts, physical tombs, and millions of living descendants who base their family trees on her arrival. But over on the Indian side, historians note that ancient records contain absolutely zero mention of a princess being sent to Korea. Mainstream historians generally classify this as a rich founding myth rather than a documented historical migration. And that brings us to the mysterious kingdom of Ayutthaya. You see, the original ancient texts only described it as a distant country. The specific connection to India was actually proposed much later by modern scholars, notably Korean anthropologist Kim Byung-mo. His theory relies heavily on the phonetic similarity between the legendary kingdom of Ayutthaya and the real, historical Indian city of Ayodhya. It's a linguistic puzzle piece that ultimately connected the two modern nations. Section 4. A diplomatic revival, soft power in the 21st century. Regardless of the definitive historical proof, whether it was a literal journey or a symbolic memory of ancient maritime contact, let's explore how this ancient text has been powerfully resurrected for modern geopolitical use. Just look at the sheer diplomatic momentum over the last 2 decades. Both the Indian and South Korean governments have actively and purposefully utilized this obscure legend to rapidly build genuine diplomatic warmth. Starting with a memorial in 2001 on the Saryu River, escalating to a visit from South Korea's First Lady in 2018, and leading to massive park upgrades and joint cultural festivals. This is textbook soft power, using shared heritage to build a 21st century alliance. Meanwhile, her physical tomb in Gimhae remains a highly respected and protected heritage site in South Korea. It essentially serves as the concrete, physical anchor for this ongoing international partnership. It really is a striking place where ancient history, enduring legend, and modern international relations all intersect in the physical world. Section 5. Why the story matters. As we crystallize exactly what you should take away from this cross-continental saga, we have to ask, why does a story from 48 AD matter to our understanding of the world today? Well, whether literal or symbolic, this story highlights that ancient memories of contact, which perhaps point to extensive Asian maritime trade routes much larger than we generally assume, can still deeply shape our modern world. It proves that oral traditions and myths aren't just dead text on a page, they're living cultural bridges that modern nations can use to forge real-world economic and diplomatic partnerships. So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. When millions of people find their fundamental identity in a story, and 2 powerful nations use it to forge a genuine alliance of friendship and cooperation today, does its strict historical accuracy even matter? It perfectly encapsulates the strange, beautiful, and honestly powerful magic of how we use the past to build the present. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the history around you.